All right. Hello, Gun Nation. We are on live tonight with Wylie Guns 1776, and I will do just a quick roll call and we'll get into it with him. We have got, let's see here. Let's see. It's telling me I'm live. I already know that. All right. We have got Frank. We've got Big Al, Maikai, Dan O'Neill. Let's see here. Where's the rest of them? Oh, Parts by Teddy, Jay Harrow, Maikai, CZ Shadow 2, Kathleen Music Lover, and Big Al. Yeah, and hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it, Big Al. But I would like to introduce Wylie Guns 1776. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I appreciate you being on. I think this is a cool thing, and we're going to get to know you. And do you want to say anything about yourself before we get started?
No, I mean, we can kind of dig into it, but I started a YouTube channel recently, maybe 6 months or so, and been a subscriber to a lot of the gun channels, and figured I would put back a little to the community and start my own, and kind of record my thoughts and give back to the community a little bit, and it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've been subscribed to you for quite a while, and I don't get to catch every video, but I definitely try to. And I'm enjoying what you're doing. And if y'all are interested in Wylie Guns, in the description of this video, his link is there. And in the comments, his link is there. So please go over and subscribe to him. He's doing some good things. And like I said, he's part of our community. So we're trying to support each other. Hello, T.N. Steyer, Dennis Bucker, Scott, Bald and Curious. But like I said, we just want this community to grow. So we have more people on our side. That's what this is all about. And we will kind of get into it. I'm going to give you, we'll just kind of start off with some questions, because what I want to do is kind of get through the basic questions first, open it up to everybody so we can get some questions answered, and you can have my opinion and Wylie's opinion. And real quick, Wylie, where did you grow up? And I know you have a little bit of Texas backing in you, but where did you grow up? And, tell us a little bit about.
So I've been all over the country, but I grew up in New York, and spent probably the first 30 years of my life in New York. And from there, I moved down to Texas for a number of years, and just recently we relocated to sunny Florida. So
right.
It's I'll say semi-retired.
There you go. Oh, that's awesome.
So,
well, congratulations, man. That is awesome. Yeah. I was going to say, I've kind of been there, and then I was like, man, I can't sit at home. And so I jumped back into it. But first question, if y'all don't follow this, what I've been doing is, and after this chat, when the replay comes on, you can go in and you can enter to be a winner, and we'll draw some names, and you can actually be on the chat with me. So, it doesn't matter if you have a YouTube channel. If you have a YouTube channel, trying to get some of the subscribers out there. The only rule is you really have to be a subscriber, but trying to get people that we see the comments, but we don't see their face. And so far, this has been really good. I've already had two gentlemen that don't even have channels. Of course, Uncle Dan and Wylie do, but it's really neat to kind of get some opinions that, don't do channels really. But hello, Keenan, Bald and Curious. Hey, Work, what's up, man? Rabbi. But first question is, what is your opinion on guns?
So the kind of the nutshell is, I originally got into guns through hunting, and through that, viewed that as one of the tools that you have as part of the hunting experience. So it wasn't that, hey, I wanted to get into guns specifically. It was more of, I think Uncle Dan mentioned it, kind of was going in that same direction, but, it is one of those tools to go hunting. And, I grew up, I think times are totally different than they are today, but I mean, I remember going hunting after high school, and, you'd be talking to the teachers and, hey, what did you guys get? Or, how are you guys doing? I think nowadays, I mean, we used to bring guns, and leave them in our car and go hunting right after school. I mean, every fall, that's what we used to do. And, you'd be hunting, 5 or 6 days out of the week. So that's kind of how I got into guns. And I was more into, the rifle, shotgun, and growing up, we did, a ton of deer hunting. We were in an area where it was great. We could go pheasant hunting all the time, had skeet and trap, and really was into that growing up. It wasn't until 1994 that I actually got my pistol permit in New York, and I think Bald is kind of a fellow New Yorker in that. And that whole process in New York, and that was 25 years ago. It took me 6 months and meeting with the judge and multiple days off. I mean, what they had you going through back then, and I couldn't even imagine what it is now. But that's where I got more into handguns, and then kind of got into some of the classic handguns. And I was more into some of the classic stuff, and like some of the firearms that have history behind it. And I think my first pistol was, I know it's probably going to upset a lot of people, was a Gen 2 Glock 19. And that's kind of how I got into it. It's really, taken off ever since. And, now I'm doing less hunting and more with concealed carry. And, as it kind of evolves, you get, you switch over from, rifles and shotguns more to pistol calibers. So, yeah. That's my feeling. Ultimately, guns to me, to some degree it's a tool, but then, there is some sort of appreciation for quality, I'll say.
Cool. Yeah, I believe in that too. I do like the old stuff, but I can definitely appreciate quality of guns. Matter of fact, I just popped out a video on that today. I'm not a budget guy, but other people know that about me. But all right, here's the next question. Your favorite pistol, you can only pick one, and then your favorite rifle, you can only pick one.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a little liberty here. So my favorite pistol was a SIG P226 Legion that I had. Okay. Loved it. Was really a great shooter. I kind of jumped between SIG, Glock. I'm all over the place with what I'm into. So it's not necessarily one particular brand, but I love that as far as a pistol. And I'm going to kind of take a little deviation on a rifle. And my favorite long gun, I'll classify it as, was a Remington 870. And like I said to you before, Big J, it's not necessarily one of my nicest ones, but it is the first gun that I got into hunting with. And years ago, the 870, you could switch up barrels, you could go deer hunting with it, you could go pheasant, turkey. I mean, you could really do anything. And when you're in high school, you don't have a ton of money to be buying the best and greatest. And that particular gun, you could change up the configuration and really get everything. So, that gun, every time I take it out, I remember, times that I went with some of the people that I were growing up with, and, has sentimental value to me. So to me, that is probably my favorite long gun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I've had 870s in the past. The only thing, when I was younger, the only thing that I have issues with is I've got gorilla paws. So, with the safety where it's down at the trigger guard, that's my boogaboo with Remingtons and a lot of shotguns. That's why I'm really a Mossberg fan, because it's got it up on the Tang. But 870 is a great gun, runs good. So they definitely work very well.
And back then, Remington was a different company back then than it has been of recent. So.
Yeah, and you're right about shotguns. You can change the barrels on them. You can kind of do what you want to with them, and you can do it with Mossbergs too. But that is, there's nothing wrong with a good shotgun.
Yeah.
All right, and I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but how old were you officially, if you remember, when you were introduced to guns? Not necessarily when you had your own, but when.
Probably around 8 or 9.
Okay.
And it was really the first introduction. I think a lot of people on the channel, at least in our age group, that that was really your first introduction to, having some sort of adult responsibilities. And, here's taking the mystery out of it. And I still do that with my kids now, a firm believer in it, that, if you take some of the mystery out of firearms, it's not this, to me, it's not as dangerous if you introduce them to it. show them, and take the mystery out of it versus people who hide it and, put it away in their closet and the kids, it's this mystical thing. So I was introduced really on an, fairly early age. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I've always said this too. If you could take the bang, like the loud explosion that's happening in your hand or in your rifle or your shotgun, if you could take that away, I think a lot more people would really enjoy it. So it's really getting over that bang. And then after that, I mean, I've had people that I've worked with and, that I've kind of let go along with me to shoot. And I'm just like, don't pay attention to the bang. Just let it happen and just kind of ignore it. And once that explosion goes off, they're like, hey, that wasn't that bad. And then it progressively gets better with each shot. So, they get that flinch or, prepare for that loud bang and, it freaks them out a little bit. But
yeah, and what I've found, when you talk about new shooters, what I've found is I wind up taking people to outdoor ranges, and I get, whenever I take new shooters to an indoor range, that concussion, there's a lot more feeling that goes on there. So if you ever get a chance and you have the ability, I'd much prefer taking people to an outdoor range, because it just seems like it diminishes that loud bang.
Yeah. No, and you're exactly right. And plus, when you have, a bang going off in this stall, it gets, some people get really intimidated by that. And I've even, back the old range I used to go to, and you can go back and see the videos, I would really start hammering down on shots and double taps and stuff. And Ranger Rick would run over and yell at me, only one shot per 2 seconds or whatever. I was like, why? And he's like, you're intimidating the new shooters. And I'm like, that's not my fault. But yeah, I definitely enjoy outdoor ranges much better. So, okay, I'll ask you this question because I ask everybody else. Have you thought of starting a YouTube channel? I'm just joking. Again, if Wylie has a channel, so y'all can go into the comments. It's posted there and in the link in this video. So please go over and subscribe to him. Were you in the military or law enforcement?
No, neither. I mean, the good thing is I grew up about 15 minutes from West Point. So it's kind of, we were always running over there. We were taking advantage of the sports and different things. And during the summer, you'd hear the tanks shooting off. So, but no, I never had never got into the military or law enforcement. Kind of took a different career path.
Okay, are you there?
Yep.
I'm sorry about that. I went to block somebody, and for some reason it kicked me out. I guess when I blocked them. But yeah, we had some guy that was asking a bunch of junk, and I don't want that on the channel. Sorry about that. Okay, so no military, no LE.
Nope, neither one.
Okay, all right. No, I'm back. I'm sorry, everybody. Like I said, for some reason it launched me. So, but we got it happen. All right, and the last question that I ask everybody: do you carry daily?
Yes, okay. I do. I'm in a position where I can carry every day, and I think a lot of people, it really depends on, what their employer is, but, I'm in a position where, yes, I can carry every day. And I do. I mean, I just put out a video the other day on an option for a portable safe that I wind up using on a regular basis, because wind up going to the post office or, a variety of different places. And, instead of not carrying for that trip, because usually it's running errands and that's just one of them. And, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know what you guys' opinion are, but I don't really like throwing it in the center console of the car or the glove box. I want something a little more secure. So, put out a video on that. But yes, I do carry every day.
Good deal. Now, just since we're talking about it, do you have one choice of carry, a particular firearm or multiples? Different?
So it's going to be, going to sound kind of silly on this. And that is, it really all depends on what I'm wearing, whether you want, a smaller compact or, what I'll, more of a full size, and also really the different time of year, but usually I'll carry either a Glock 26 or a Glock 19.
Okay. Yeah, and I do agree with that kind of dress around, what you're carrying. I've been known to wear skinny shorts and a belly shirt and carry a 2011. No, I'm joking, but I always try to carry the largest gun that I can with the most capacity and a backup mag. I try to. Sometimes in a suit, I'll carry a single stack, with the backup mag and just kind of dress around it. So exactly what you said, that's always a good thing to do. But and there are some places that you shouldn't carry, but sometimes or a lot of times I don't know how to read because those are soft spots in my opinion, or soft targets, so to say. But yes, and if I do long hauls, which I always do, and I'm carrying rifles with me or a PDW, I've got a actual truck safe, which it'll hold 18-inch rifles. So it's a big, steel case. And so I carry, stuff in that too. But I always have one on my person. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, that was pretty much the questions. We wanted to kind of go through these pretty quick. And, we're going to answer some questions. I don't want to, deny y'all. I'm going to answer. Wylie's going to answer, so you can have different opinions. Let's start off with this one because I think it's a smart-ass one. Big Johnson Guns and Gear, how do you carry while in a swimsuit? And does it have to be treated for saltwater exposure? If you follow me, which maybe Bald missed that video way back when, went to the beach and had a swimsuit on, all that stuff, and I actually do carry. And I didn't have a shirt on, but I do carry. And then when I actually jump in the water, it's right there next to my wife, and then I get out and, pretty much handle it again. And yes, if you're going to be around salt water and stuff like that, you have to clean your gun afterwards because I don't jump in the water with it. But just the exposure to your skin with salt on it can cause issues, just like sweat can. You should clean your normal holsters because of sweat. If you're out working in the yard and carrying a gun, you should plan accordingly. Matter of fact, I have a video, gosh, it's an old video, but I was out working in the yard. I actually took a holster off and I turned it, and you could just see the sweat pouring out of it, and it was all over the gun. But I cleaned it accordingly afterwards and cleaned everything out. So that's just kind of how it is. But what's your opinion on that when you go swimming?
My opinion on it would be it really all depends because, like here in Florida, we go to the beach on a regular basis, and, you don't want to not carry, but you just got to be cognizant of, who's going to be around it. And, I certainly wouldn't leave it sitting on, with your beach towel, right? Yeah. So in a lot of cases, I will just lock it in the car, and then go on the beach at that point, and not have it because, you wind up, you say to your wife, you're going with the kids and, stay with your stuff. And next thing you know, she's talking on the phone and, I just, for me, I would rather store it safe. Hey, listen, if someone winds up shooting me while I'm on the beach, you know what? At least I went in a good spot.
Yeah, they could just bury you right there. So that
just send me out to sea at that point, and at least it's not a bad spot.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I kind of talked about this in that video too. I had one of those big Ziploc bags for sand and stuff. You can put your gun in it, Ziploc it up. That way it doesn't get moisture if you're going to put it in a bag, because when that sand's blowing, it goes right in the bags, gets in your gun, all that stuff. So Ziploc bags they do very, very well with that. So little trip. Yeah. Kathleen's saying I made that video back in the 1920s. Yeah. Hell, I probably did. But, I did decide to, that's like 3 days, we're just playing around, but, probably not going to keep it, just goofing around a little bit. But let's see here. What have we got here? So far, of all the Big Johnson guests are all Glock guys. Kathleen, you need to, and like I said, I have Glocks too. They're just not my preferred gun, if I have choices, but they are great guns. I mean, they work. They do what they should do. But
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten me over to the C2 Duo. That is what I'm looking at. In the last year or so, I really haven't gone too crazy with firearms because a lot of the places that I go down here, I for what they're asking for some of them, I just can't. In my mind, I can't legitimize it because a year ago they were 20% less than what they are now.
yeah.
So I've been holding off for a little bit, but the C2 is definitely it's probably going to be my next one.
Yeah, it's actually a really fun gun. And a lot of people are like, why did you go to staccato? If they followed me forever, I'm a 1911 guy. I've been a 1911 slash, I guess you could say 2011 guy. There's nothing like single action trigger. I'm not worried about the flip safety. I'm used to it. A lot of people are like, how do you carry that Appendix? I'm like, man, it's got a safety. I'm not keeping my finger on the trigger. It's in a good holster. So it's just kind of mind over matter, getting over the hump. Even on all striker fire guns, I've carried Appendix with, you name the striker fire gun, I've pretty much carried it. So I know, especially I remember Ball did something on that where he was very concerned with it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but once you carry there and you just, that's your spot. Without it, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm like, hey, where's my gun? I don't have it on. So it definitely kind of becomes part of you, and you just really get used to it. And you can't just try it for 1 or 2 days. You've got to try it for like a full blown 7 days, maybe even 2 weeks. Give it a good fair shake, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I've seen people put it on for 30 minutes and go, oh my god, I can't do that. It's all about moving it to the position and knowing where your hot spots don't happen, and then boom, that's your spot. So it does take a little bit to get used to.
I'm with you on that. I initially tried and was passed it up and said, hey, this isn't for me. And probably in the last 3 or 4 months or so, switched over to it 100%. And I can't imagine going back.
Yeah.
And it's really all about getting the right holster and getting the right setup for it.
Yeah, 100%. You're exactly right. I've been preaching that forever. Some people just stick it in a sticky holster or some crazy holster, and that's just not the right holster or the right belt. People try to do it with dress belts, and they just fold over and don't have any good retention or stability, and your gun sags and everything else. They're like, oh, this thing's a piece of crap. No, you just don't have the right equipment to work with it. But and it's like I said, different strokes for different folks. But and then I've also had this question with the C2. If you have to use it in a self-defense shoot, they're going to be taking your $25,000 or $3,000 gun. Okay. Well, here's my answer to that. What's your life worth? If you feel comfortable with a single action gun and it's more accurate for you, it's, reliable and it's proven reliable, who gives a shit about $3,000? And I'm not trying to be a jerk or something, but, my life and my family's life, and if I'm trying to help someone, it's worth more than $3,000. And also I have FLP, which is firearms legal protection. So if they take the gun and I don't get it back within a reasonable amount of time, they give me up to $1,000, which that wouldn't cover the cost. But, it's a gun. I mean, I've got other ones. So in the meantime, I just throw another gun on, but I don't worry about stuff like that. I mean, I
did a video on that and kind of put my thoughts together on it, and you hear a lot of people, hey, I don't want to carry, a certain firearm because God forbid I was ever in a shooting, they would take it away. And it's, your exact same point is, well, if you were in a shooting, wouldn't you want your best chance of success at that point? And to me, it's like, let's just say $3,000, right? Would you be, for me, I'd be glad to give up $3,000 to know that I had a better firearm and, something that, could get through the situation. What's the point of carrying, a cheap firearm? I mean, carry what you feel comfortable with. And, if you are in a shooting, listen, if you're in a shooting, your legal fees are going to be way more than any firearm is worth anyway. So don't even worry about it.
Yeah, that's why I believe in self-defense insurance for criminal and civil. I have a question here. Wylie, do you reload?
I do not. I have been thinking about it recently, especially with the ammo shortage. But the flip side to it is, even if you wanted to get into reloading now, you've almost missed that boat for right, at the moment. Between primer, you can't get primers, and the cost of the primers are expensive. And is it something that maybe in a year or so, if things kind of level out a little bit, I would certainly get into it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I kicked it around for a long time and kind of missed the window, just like what you said. And, I mean, for self-defense, and this is just me personally, I know people do it, but I would not reload a self-defense round. For a target round and just stuff like that, for, competition and stuff, yeah, that's fine. But, and I've actually reloaded, or I ran, a couple hundred bullets or a couple hundred rounds with Humble Marksman one time, just to see if I liked it. And I actually liked it. It was fun, and it is a lot of steps and process. And then you have to kind of look at it this way from an economical standpoint, because I'm always trying to, my time is worth money too, and people don't account for that. So by the time you buy the primers and all this other stuff prior to this, and if you were doing 9mm, to me, it wasn't worth it. I would just rather buy it. And I know that you can make custom loads, so you could make exactly what you want. But back when ammo prices were really reasonable, it just wasn't worth doing 9mm. However, now, yeah, if you had all the components, it would be. So, but all right. Yeah, we got Kyle on here, Drew Bradley, Keith Gregory, in case I missed some people. I just wanted to catch y'all. But yeah, bring the questions. As far as, one of the things I wanted to kind of get opinions on, and this is for everyone out there. What do you think about the stuff that's going on in Minnesota? We had a recent incident, not that it was a good one, but, this aftermath and stuff, is that the answer? What's your opinions on that? If anybody wants to state, or if you want to, Wylie, what's your opinion on what's going on right now over there?
I got a chance to watch the video. I watched that video this morning, actually, and I kind of mentioned it to Big J in the pre-chat. I follow a person called Good Luck America, and he does a lot of reviews on this, and I've been really watching his George Floyd case, the Derek Chauvin, and every night he winds up doing hours long review of this stuff. And I'm going to say what my take is on it. Watch some of this stuff for yourself and draw your own conclusions. Don't just take that snippet or what media is telling you is the narrative and believe that, and kind of look at it from an open perspective and say what really happened. And, there are certain things, with the George Floyd, and, there are things that the cops did wrong, and there's certainly things that they could do better. And, but it's not this little snippet that they're showing you in the media, that there's a lot more to it. And you got to really put yourself in that perspective. And, if you were there, what would you have done? And there's a lot more to it. And this one that happened, what was it, earlier this week or this weekend?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, the recent one.
You got to watch the whole video. But in this case, my feeling is, it was lack of training. It was an officer who did not realize they were drawing their gun instead of, a taser. And my opinion is they should stop making tasers, act and feel just like a firearm. They should, it should be some sort of a different shape. I heard someone say almost like a TV remote. So your muscle memory isn't the same as a firearm, where if you've got the taser in your hand, that it's something different than a firearm. And I think it's just, clearly the officer was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will second that. I think that I know a couple of officers. Actually, I know more than a couple, but personal friends, and they carry their taser on the left side always. Their gun because they're right-handed. They carry their gun, so they know which one to grab. And theirs does feel, different. It's not like a Glock. I mean, that's their carry firearm for, on duty. But, you know, if if you really back all this up, I mean, yes, he shouldn't have, tried to run and all this other stuff. We know all that. However, if you grab a pistol and you're like taser, taser, and you shoot someone, that's a no-go. I mean, flat out. I look at poor lack of training, and from what I understand, I don't know if this is true, but what I understand and I read this, and I don't believe everything I read or read, but with their lack of police officers in Minnesota and people quitting and all this other stuff, supposedly this lady officer, was pulled off of a desk and told that she has to go out and start patrolling. Didn't have the experience to do it, or enough experience, obviously. And so she was thrown into that situation. You still should know the difference between the two. However, in a panic situation, sometimes if you've got a spur of the moment thing, you just don't know. But to grab your firearm and think it's a taser, that's just piss poor training. I just think over there it's just been all jacked up since all of this has been going on. People are leaving left and right, and who knows what's going to happen over there. If they even have anything left after all this crap goes down, who knows? But
yeah, I mean, I heard as crazy as it was, I think it was their mayor mentioning something along the lines of, for traffic stops, police should not have a firearm with them. And it's just insane. It's like, okay, well, who are you going to get to do the job then? Because I certainly, I've never been a law enforcement officer, but you couldn't get me to do a traffic stop without a firearm. You have no idea who you're pulling over.
Yeah. And also with being put in that situation, I mean, if you watch the video, and I know that's the only thing we can go by, it seems like they should have, maybe taken him to the ground and truly detained him and kept him away from the car and shut the door so he couldn't just jump back in there. That seems like the smarter thing to do. Or the police officer should have been between the door, holding him this way. So if he's going to run into other officers so they could potentially grab him. But it just seemed like it was just a bad situation all the way around. So, hello, Uncle Dan. How are you doing? Keenan. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen after this, but where they were talking about taking social workers with you and doing all this other stuff. I mean, in some of these shootouts and stuff that they have, can you imagine a social worker walking to the door, knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, Mr. Bad Guy," or whatever, "I'm here to talk to you about your mental situation," or whatever. There's people that open up doors and just start blasting through doors. That's not the answer either. People should be armed if they're going to potentially talk to an armed person or someone behind a door. You just don't know. I'm not saying race. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, green, purple. I don't care. When they're behind a door and you can't see them, you don't know what they're doing. And a 12 gauge will definitely go through a door. So these guys and ladies don't know what they're walking into sometimes, especially when you're dealing with someone who has a record a mile long. I'm not saying this person did, but there's all kinds of different situations out there, and we and they can't put themselves in every one of those situations. It's just, I mean,
yeah, I mean, a lot of times,
how you could pay a cop enough nowadays.
No, I think, if they've got nothing to lose, why wouldn't, they're willing to try anything, and if they know that they're going back to jail and it could very well be for the rest of their life, what do they have to lose? Why not, so that second guessing a lot of it. I mean, I'm not saying there definitely needs to be accountability. They can't just run rogue, but, they have to have some sort of leeway and be able to. It's very hard to judge the situation watching a video after the fact and doing it frame by frame versus in this case, with the one that happened this past week. I mean, the whole interaction seemed like it took, a minute or less. So, you're trying to react to something, and, now all of a sudden people are trying to judge you by watching frame by frame.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to keep people, getting into law enforcement or retain good people, because, it's certainly not a field that I would want to get into, because you do one thing wrong, you say one thing, out of line, and next thing you know, you've been working for 15 years, and there's a complaint against you because of some ridiculous thing, and there goes your pension, and you can't get a job anywhere.
Yeah. And and I've said this before, in any job, there's bad cops, there's bad, CEOs, there's bad people in every job. I'm not saying everyone's perfect. I would never say that. I think that, I think that they really need to evaluate, make sure, because I know different fields that, some people in these different fields that I know, and I'm not going to say the fields, but they have to have like years of training, and then, a lot of like kind of going with others, kind of like an apprenticeship. And, maybe that's what I'm not just going through a police, training and just being thrown out on the street in some of these really bad areas. That's kind of like throwing people to the wolves sometimes. And Keenan made, a good point there a minute ago. When you walk up to a car with dark tinted windows, or, even a house with a, totally sealed door where you can't see a window through it or anything like that, you don't know what you're walking into. And I would be a little on the defensive too. I'd be like, hey, let's stand around this corner, or and you don't know how many people are in the car. You don't know if they're aiming rifles at you. You don't know what the hell's going on. But then again, you can't step on people's rights, just assuming. So there's a very thin line there that has to be walked. So it's crazy. But, and then, we're getting towards the middle of the chat, but for the next chat, we had actually only 3 people enter. So I was pretty surprised that there were only 3. And if y'all want to enter the next one, not this coming one, but the next one, after this goes on replay, go into the comments and say, hey, I want in for the next chat. And that's how I'm drawing them. I'm just pulling the names out. So Wylie, there is going to be a number between 1 and 3. Have I told you the names on this list that I have?
You have not.
Okay. So there are 3 people. So you have to pick a number between 1 and 3, and then we'll see who wins. And I'll actually show the list so people will know that it's not made up. But pick a number between 1 and 3.
I will go right in the middle, 2.
Okay. You went 2. Well, that's funny that you did that, because he is actually on the chat. The winner of the next chat is Wheeled. Whoops, here it is. Wheeled and Well Armed. So Wheeled and Well Armed, I will put my email in the next chat, or after this chat, I'll stick my email in there, and you can email me, and you will be on the next chat. So, and I don't know if you saw the contestants. I want to make sure they know. It was Michael L., Wheel and Weld Arm, and Red Menace Shooting. So that's the way they were. He picked 2. So congratulations, Wheel and Weld Armed. And Wheel and Weld Arm has a channel too. So
yeah, and he's great. If you don't follow him, I certainly would suggest following him.
Yeah, and he's really has some budget-friendly firearms. I'm just joking. He has some really nice firearms. So yeah, if y'all don't even know what we're talking about with the budget stuff, y'all can watch the video I put out today. But that is an honest to God, those 3 questions are the number 1 3 questions that are asked. And I had 2 of those questions asked today, and I had 1 asked yesterday, and that's why that video was put out. So it wasn't it was a spur of the moment after these questions. That's why I put that up today. But congratulations, Wheel and Well Armed. So I know Red Menace has been trying forever, so he didn't win this time, but maybe he'll win next time. So here is your winner for the next one, Wheel and Weld Arm. So, but yeah, and as far as anything that you want to talk about, I mean, is there anything, like maybe, well, actually, here it is right here. You do have a question. Wylie, did you ever collect military surplus firearms?
So I was gonna take that one. So yes, I have. Years ago, I got a P38. That's probably one of the ones that I've really enjoy, and I do collect them. Got a variety of them. A lot of the guns that I have in my collection, there is some sort of whether it be history or some sort of connection with it. Obviously, P38 has kind of a negative part of history, but it's still history, and you look at it and it's part of what we went through years ago, and it's just something neat to own.
Yeah, that's cool. I do, I have some. I've shown, I think, two of them. But yeah, I think they're kind of cool. Now, there's some stuff that gets really, really old, and I don't have a lot of interest in it. But I have some near and dear to my heart, so they've been on the channel, and I've only shown one of them once, but it means a lot. And then recently, if you looked at the steel one, a lot of people ask about the Smith and Wesson 438 that I have. That model, yeah. What is it? God dang, we're losing my mind. Anyway, the Smith and Wesson that I showed in the steel video, that was my very, very, very first gun. Actually, that was my first gun, and it was from, believe it or not, my high school graduation. Or it was made in '86, but it was I got that for high school graduation. So that was my very first pistol. So stuff like that, it's definitely sentimental, and just means a lot to me. And I've got some other stuff from family members that served, and so stuff like that is always cool to keep. And
it's always nice to have something that has some sort of history, whether it's between you or somebody else, because you don't shoot the stuff that often, but when you do shoot it and do take it out, even if you just take it out of the safe, you do remember who you went with, and maybe they're not around anymore, and it kind of brings you back to them a little bit. So
yeah, you're exactly right. The last time I shot my 8mm, it was like bullseye, and so yeah, I was hollering his name, my grandfather's name. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's always good to have a little sentimental stuff. So, but as far as like a hardcore milcirc collector, that's not really me. I do appreciate them, but that's just not really me. Hey, what's up, Steve? How are you? Hello, Applied Performance.
I've seen some people that have really gone to the extreme with it, with getting all the kit that goes along with it, but that's really not me.
Yeah, me either. And like, it's kind of cool that a lot of the what is it? Brownells and stuff is doing a lot of the retro stuff to kind of, if somebody wants a retro style rifle or something, that's pretty cool that they're bringing some of that stuff back. If people are into that. So. Mm-hmm. But all right, give us some questions. Let's see here. Bald and Curious is saying he carries Appendix to impress the ladies. Well, remember, Bald, you carry a 365, so that's not really impressive. So that's a little bitty one right there. So, but yeah, and if y'all want to learn how to shoot and learn how to shoot good, y'all can check out Joel from Applied Performance. Good guy. He's got a good channel. Definitely knows his stuff. But yeah, it's it's really good to do this kind of stuff. Got to meet another YouTuber, and again, go on in the video description of this. You can go in and subscribe to Wylie Guns, or at the top of the comments, I've got it pinned. You can go in and subscribe to him also. Like I said, we just want to help the community. There's other YouTubers that are here in the chat, so please go on and subscribe to them. I know Applied offers a lot of stuff. Bald's got 19 YouTube channels, so you'll have to figure out which one you want to subscribe to. But like I said, Wield and Weld Arm, Uncle Dan, there's tons of people. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. But anything else that, we've got a little bit of time, but anything else that you have coming up on your channel that you want to talk about, that you maybe want to give a sneak peek or let people be aware of?
No, I mean, honestly, it's a lot of the stuff that I have planned. It's, I try to do some of the gear reviews, but then, it really changes depending on, what the current situation is for different things. I way back when put on one of the ammo videos, but kind of it's been there, done that. I mean, I think we all know that ammo is short and ammo is expensive. So it's right now I've been kind of quiet with putting out some of the videos. One thing that I was looking at recently that I was gonna kind of address was, does anybody use or bid on Gunbroker?
I haven't well, put it this way, I've looked at it, but I've really never bought anything from Gunbroker. There's just nothing, because I have so much access in my area.
So when I was in Texas, so I wasn't far from Big J not too long ago, and they had Texas Gun Exchange or Gun Trader, I forget what, And I use that a lot where you do, individual transfers and, you got some good options there. So I never really used Gunbroker. And now here in Florida, they have a Florida Gun Trader.
Mm-hmm.
And, what they've got on there, the prices and all seem fairly, fairly decent. But I went on to Gunbroker, Mac from Military Arms, that whole thing, if you guys watch, Yankee Marshall, and I don't really subscribe to Yankee Marshall and the drama that goes on there, but they were mentioning about Gunbroker, and went on to there and kind of check out what things were going for, and the prices that I was seeing through Gunbroker. I mean, you can go down to your local gun shop and get them for 20%. Even paying on the high side seemed like 20% less. And I was just wondering, does anybody actually use Gunbroker? And that's I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Joel is saying that, or Platt Performance is saying that he bought, a few things for buy it now, but he's never bid. And that's the thing. Prior to this, I knew a lot of people that bought stuff on Gunbroker, just because, again, they could buy it now, hit the buy it now button, and it was more reasonably priced. But now I think it is just kind of like ripping people off on some stuff. And what they're looking for, I'm telling you, they are looking for the uneducated gun buyer that maybe somebody told them, oh, you got to have a Glock or you got to have this particular gun. And they're just going on and thinking that's normal price. So a lot of them are buying it or bidding on it and doing these kind of things. So, that's a lot of that's still happening. Hell, I was in a Texas Gun Experience the other day, and there was a guy in there, and he was like buying an AR pistol, buying what pistol did he get? Oh, he bought a Beretta pistol. So he got an AR pistol, Beretta pistol, and he got it something. Oh, and he got a shotgun. And I was sitting there talking to the sales guy that I know, and I'm like, is this his first purchase? And they're like, yep, these are his very first 3 guns. And they weren't trying to rip him off. They were actually pretty reasonable prices. But that's what, people are just coming in, and if it's there, some people are just buying it. And if it's online, they're just grabbing it. So they don't really shop a lot of prices now like they used to, where you could really get some good deals, I think. But,
Yeah, what I've been seeing here locally, some of the prices are on the high side, but, it's really around availability.
Yep.
So that's what makes it a little hard. But, I went on to Gunbroker and just figured, hey, is there anything, of value on here that I could pick up? And, everything that I was bidding on, by the time it went, time it sold, it was way higher than I was willing to pay for it.
Yeah. No, and like I said, you're dealing with some people that just don't give a damn how much stuff costs. They'll pay whatever it is if they want that particular model. And then you've got educated buyers or more seasoned buyers that are like, you know what, this is my max bid. This is all I'm going to pay. If it goes over that, so be it. And then you get some that get caught up in the whole
gotta
thing.
have it.
Yeah, or oh gosh, somebody beat my bid. I got to match them. So it gets into that little one up thing too. So sometimes you can jump into all kinds of stuff like that. But
and I think Wheeled and Well Armed, and I do agree. There's some deals on Gunbroker, when you want some obscure stuff, that's where a Gunbroker might come in handy. That if you want something that, is kind of obscure and it's not the mainstream, yeah, you're willing to pay a little more for it because that is what you want. But, other than that, I've seen, Glock 19s going for $700-800, and, I could go down, get them significantly cheaper just by running down to the local store.
Yeah, and that's just like our gun shows here in Texas. You used to be able to, back in the day, go there, and I've bought at gun shows before, from dealers, and of course I filled out a form and everything. But I've gotten some really smoking deals in the past, because each table had, they were competing against each other. So not that I went around and beat them up, but I just do my little stroll first, and then, mark down this particular thing and, shop prices and go back and get it, if it was a great deal. But now, shoot, you go to those places and they're trying to get like $70 for a box of 9mm, just crazy stuff. So because a lot of new gun buyers are like, oh my God, I got to go to the gun show and buy my gun, they don't know a lot about maybe what's going on. So, and some of them just want that particular firearm, like you said. So
let me ask you, kind of take a little different subject here.
Yeah.
how concerned are you about some of the new things that they're coming down with, as far as some of the laws and, or executive actions that they're looking to take? How concerned are you around that?
About this concerned?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'm not the only one.
No, I mean, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't give two shits. Okay, thou shall not infringe. That's there for a reason. So if you start throwing up candy cane laws and start making shit and pulling stuff out of your ass, doesn't mean I have to abide by it. I've got attorneys. I'm not worried about that. I mean, like I said, I'm not, when the bullshit really hits the fan, they've got my address.
And I think that goes back a little bit to your video that you posted today. And we were talking about it in the pre-chat. I'm also not going to go and do a safe reveal and open myself up to, you just never know who's watching these. And, I've got what I've got. I do things the way I consider it. I fill out the paperwork for everything that I have, and, do everything legally, but I'm not going to really sweat it too much. They might ban pistol braces or something. Who knows what they're going to do? Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, I'm still, and if people know me, I email my congressman. I've got them, basically they're all on my phone. I mean, I'm doing what I can. However, when you've got I guess a dictator trying to dictate what he wants or what he wants done, and he doesn't give a shit about our Bill of Rights or our amendments or anything like that, and he just thinks he can railroad over on it. That's where I have a problem with it. And, we can have a conversation. He can give opinions. I can give my opinion. But when he starts pushing his agenda or his dictatorship, that's when I quit listening. I don't have time for that shit, know? So it all comes down, like I've said in the past, on even when they pulled this crap way back when, and I've told people this even before I started doing YouTube. I'm like, times like these is when you, as an American, a gun-loving American, and you were born with that privilege, not bought and paid for. You were born with that privilege. So this is when you have to say, am I going to just fold like a lawn chair, or am I going to do what I need to do? And that's where someone has to make that decision for themselves, not for me.
I mean, I guess what I consider with a lot of this stuff is, when they're looking at some of these laws that they're putting into place, does it answer the question of how does it affect crime? Is it going to reduce crime? And in a lot of these things that they're putting out, we all know that it has no effect on actual crime, and it's more about it, making good people like you and I into criminals and taking away firearms, or scaring people away from firearms.
Yeah, I mean, and I look at it this way, and they're trying to, push the good people away. But look at Chicago. I mean, and like Obama's homeland. I mean, it was happening there when he was in. Nothing was done. There's 30 to 50 people a weekend who die there on a night. And it's like, oh, we'll ignore that. But this one shooting happened because this one guy used this. They're not worried about that. I mean, they could go in and they could just clean up Chicago. If they really had the presence there, they could nip that in the bud. But it's kind of like the Mexican cartel and all this other stuff. I mean, if you look at your history, Fast and Furious and things, I mean, that's real stuff. That's not made up stuff. So we're worried about taking guns away when we illegally sold, or they just gave guns to cartels. So
yeah,
I mean, it's
my opinion.
Double standard.
My opinion on the whole thing is, it's not taking guns away. What you should be looking to do is to make the channel for legal gun ownership easier, so that there actually are more guns available. Because you think of it as like a bully, and on the playground, you're not going to pick a fight with someone that's going to hit your back.
Yeah.
So that's the simple solution to it. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about out of all of it is when they start talking about these red flag laws, and that's where you can, people can be vindictive and, can really cause you a lot of problems, and they don't even have repercussions, and they can do it in, without even telling who's making the accusation, and that's the one out of all these. That's the one that I'm most concerned around.
Yeah, and I've had self-defense insurance for quite a while. I mean, for gosh, probably about 10 years or plus.
Yeah.
And one of the things on it with FLP is they actually protect you against red flag laws. So if something pops up, now Texas, we're not going to go along with that, but you never know. I'm just saying, what if? They actually protect you against that too. So they'll defend you for that because, just saying, oh, my neighbor doesn't like me because I don't cut the tree that hangs over his fence or whatever. I mean, you never know what people could call in on you and why. So, you got to protect yourself. And
yeah, I mean, just think if you were going through a divorce and your ex-wife wants to cause you a lot of problem. It's just a phone call away, and next thing you know, you're essentially being viewed as a criminal.
Yes, exactly. And you can have all kinds of stuff thrown up against you that's not true, but it's all and you really don't have due process in some of those situations. They just assume or they make their own judgment on you, and that's not right either. But yeah, it's just a bunch of crap. And then if you're released, they still have your property. So it's like, okay, and not a lot of people are going to be like hiring attorneys and all this other stuff. So because they just don't have the money, and all their property could be kept for however long they decide. So yeah, that's the whole thing. All this when they're coming out and they're just saying, we're going to do this or we want to do this. And I know right now those are suggestions. That's not, it's not written into law. So, but with, getting the crook on, for the ATF, this cat, I don't know if people know about him, but this cat was in the Waco raid. And I remember Waco like it was yesterday because I've dealt with all that. He's the one that said two 50 BMGs shot down two military or police helicopters, which is bullshit. He also has a picture after that place was leveled. He's standing there with a rifle in his hand. I mean, it's like, give me a break. Then there's other things that he did, plus he's anti-gun. So that's kind of like taking the guy that's, anti or that's, no tobacco or whatever, and then hiring him. Well, yeah, I mean, you know where I'm going with this, but it's just like, you can't have an anti-gunner on the ATF. That's just not right. And his own little agenda. So I'm
going to answer Bald's question here. So years ago, I did, he's got one in New York. They come, if you're going through a divorce, first thing they do is come and take your guns. When I got divorced years ago, and that was one of the first things that my lawyer had suggested was, going to the local, believe it or not, going to a local police station and having them, turning them in and having them, cataloged at that point, so that if any accusations are made against you, it's like, well, how could I have done this? Because here's where they are. And, it's probably not the smart, I probably wouldn't do that again now. But, it takes that argument right out. So,
yeah.
And I know New York is a much different area than the Texas, but, I left New York years ago. So.
Yeah. And I haven't lost anything there. So, yeah, Uncle Dan, I got him. So I appreciate it. I was trying to
I saw that too.
Yeah. I just blasted him because and like I said, I'll pass out wrenches next time, but, yeah, like I said, Chipman, there he is. And what was that, 80 people at Waco, and they had multiple, I mean, David Koresh jogged around that place. They could have picked him up at any time. If you really do your homework, they had plenty of opportunity. But like I said, it was just what it was. But anyway, yeah. And, C. Kim is, and I'm not picking on him, but this boating accident, where I lost all my firearms, we all need to quit saying stuff like that, because that, this is when you need to stand up for your rights and not fold like a lawn chair, like I was saying earlier. And I'm not picking on anybody, but we just can't, just give everything away, or, oh, I don't have them anymore. This is when we just need to say no. I mean, you're not taking our stuff. They can't just start passing what they want because we have a tyrannical government, kicking around in there now that doesn't even know his own name, and he's just waiting for a bowl of pudding and to yell bingo. Um, you know, there's there's some crazy stuff going on. Yeah, and Guns and Barbecue is saying, did we really expect anything less from Biden's appointee to the head BTAF? No, I mean, pretty much anything that he's picked, or most of the people that he's picked, it's all anti-gun. I mean, it's just pushing his agenda, whatever it might be, or we know what it is, but but yeah, we've only got, gosh, a minute or so. But anything else that you want to say? And again, I know Bald was asking after I said it, but Wylie's Guns link is pinned in the comments, and it's also in the description of this video. So you can go in there and tap it, and it's a link, take you straight over there. And like I said, please go over and subscribe to him. He does some good videos, and he's on our side. But any closing thoughts that you got or want to let anybody know about?
No, I mean, what I would recommend for everybody is, if you don't have a YouTube channel and you're, a consumer of 2A content, try to get involved in it. It is a great thing to learn. It's not only, giving back to the community and kind of keeping in touch with everybody, but it's also kind of learning different skills, and I know, Big J, you probably do it as well as I do. You record the video and then you wind up watching yourself back on some of the editing phase, and it makes you better in a lot of different things you do. So, give back to the community. Everybody that I've had that has commented, I very rarely get any trolls in the comments. My channel isn't really that quite as big as yours, but it's a great community, and you get to be in contact with some great people. So,
you'll give
it a try.
Just wait till you grow. You'll get the
yeah, that's all. That's the fun part of it. Let them troll away, and it gives you a good laugh, and you just either delete the comment or just ignore it.
Oh yeah, no. Sometimes I'll play around. It depends on the mood. Sometimes I'll launch them. Sometimes I'll play around with them. But yeah, it's like I said, anytime you can do any kind of video, what your opinion is, and throw it out there. A lot of people share the same views as you, and that's a good thing. And but like I said, just kind of make your voice be heard. I save the political stuff more so for the live chats, but I'm not the political guy, because there's a lot of channels out there that do the political stuff all the time. If it's something that affects Texas directly, I'm usually kind of jumping right in it too. As a matter of fact, I'm glad I thought about this. Tomorrow in Texas, they're voting on constitutional carry. So if you live in Texas, which we should have had constitutional carry 1,000 years ago, they are actually voting on it tomorrow. So, hopefully this will happen. Like I said, I've got my LTC, CHL. It's been called 4 different things now.
Yeah.
But, hopefully that passes, and we can get more states doing this, because that's just going to show the power of people, good guys who carry guns. How do you defeat or defend a bad guy with a gun? It's a good guy with a gun. So we need to stop the gun-free zones and all this other crap. And if people know that you're carrying, they're less likely to do dumb shit. So that's
and I'm going to say, also what's great about channels like your own is getting out there and kind of educating people who aren't really into or interested in guns, and kind of taking that myth away. And a lot of people, especially around concealed carry, they have this misconception of who you are, who a concealed carrier is. And I know, like my mother-in-law, she was, grew up in New York City, and had no interest in firearms and no exposure to firearms until I married into the family. And their perception of who a concealed carrier is far different than what we really are. And to go out there and kind of educate people and show them that we're not bad people. It's not, I think they get the impression, or at least what I've come across, is it's like, oh, well, why you can't, are you dealing drugs or something? Why do you carry a fire? And they don't really see the other side to it. And then once you kind of educate them and be like, an ambassador to the 2A community, then they understand it more, and they're like, oh, well, they start to see your side of it. And I haven't gotten my mother-in-law to the point of carrying a firearm, but she totally understands it now. And
Yeah.
where years ago she was, people shouldn't have a need to carry a firearm, and it's take that time to educate.
That's a good thing, trust me, I educate half of my family members, it seems like every Christmas, every big holiday, because I'm at the table and I'm hearing all their stupid shit. But like I said, it's opinions. Everybody has an opinion. I even said that today in the video. Opinions are like, assholes. Everybody has one. But who's going to protect you? You are your own ultimate protector. There's not a cop. We don't have a cop under this arm and Chuck Norris under this arm. We are there to protect ourselves. And when you call the police, it's too late. They're filling out the report. So be your own protector. You can save your life, your family's life, or even people you don't even know's life. And that's what I always tell people that say, why do you carry a gun? I'm like, okay, you don't. So if I'm in a restaurant with you, something pops off and I'm able to save you and your family, would you not be appreciative? And they're usually like, yes. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not a cop. So, and that's not legally my job to protect your family, but I'm willing to do so.
Yeah. So, and I'll usually give the example of, what was it? The nightclub shooting and what was the Orlando nightclub shooting?
Yes.
The cops are going to sit there, and even with this latest one with the supermarket, the one cop went in, but everybody else, if you watch the video, was kind of milling around on the outside. And if you're one of the ones sitting in there, what do you do? Hope for the best, but at least if you're carrying there, and you stand some chance at least. I'm not saying you're going to be this super tactical person and take the person down, but it's a better chance than having nothing.
And also, if you really think about it, if he's a smart, and like a lot of bad guys aren't smart, but he's sitting there, bam, bam, bam. If somebody's shooting back at him, he might be like, oh shit, I gotta go. And he could just drop the weapon and run out the door, or just get the hell out of there. And you could have saved lives just by popping a couple of rounds at him. You might not hit him, depending. I'm not saying just blast into, people around him. That's not a safe thing. But I'm just saying, if they know that they've got, some good guys with guns, they're less likely to start doing stupid shit. So, but yeah, well, this has been a really, really fun time. Again, his link is in the comments and in the description of the video. Will and Weld Arm will be on next week, so I'll get him my information. And thanks everyone for the great questions. Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it so much. And again, thank you, Wylie, for being on. Really was a treat. And if you need anything from me or I can help you in any way, please reach out, let me know. But let's see here. If there's any quick questions, we will answer them. Yeah, putting on a gun is like putting on a belt. I put one on every day. That's the thing. It needs to become a habit. And I know that a lot of people can't carry at their work and things like that, and I completely understand it. It's just if you could, help save your life and other people's life. And I've said this. Richard's saying this too. Gun-free zones are dangerous. Yes, they are. That's just inviting wolves to the hen house. So why have them?
I'm not saying don't observe some of these things, but if it's not legally in your state where you have to observe it, I'm going to say a lot of times I look the other way. Oh, hey, I didn't see that sign.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you're concealed carrying. So for a lot of cases, they're not, unless you're open carrying, they're really not going to know the difference anyway. If of course it's a legal place, let's just say a post office, you're probably not too wise to ignore something like a post office or something like that. But if you go into a restaurant, they have a sign, no guns or whatever. I know in Texas they have the 30, what is it,
30-06,
30-06, 30-06 and 07. There was plenty of times hey, I didn't see the sign.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I've never been called out, but I'm sure y'all can guess what I do. But yeah, it's just like I said, protect yourself, and there you go. Just watch your back and be aware of your surroundings if you can. But I appreciate you so much for being on. Wylie, hang out, and we will let everyone else go. Please hit that thumbs up, everyone. We appreciate it. share if you enjoyed it. I want comments. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff. And if you want to sign up to be on the next one after Will and Weld Arm, when this goes on as a replay, go in there and leave a comment saying, I want in, and you will be entered just like everyone else. And I would love to have more people on. I don't care the size of your channel. And like I said, tell your story, get exposure. That's what it's all about. I'm just trying to help everybody out. So I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. Carry on, everyone.